Hey, Contest of Challengers, it's Haley. I'm so excited to come back in the new year. Happy holidays.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. Eyes that approved, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dale Bush.
What book are you talking about?
Superman #2.
And it has what?
I think we talked about this last week. Has 10 variants, counting incentive variants.
For number 2.
For #2. Yeah, absolutely bizarre. Yeah, this DC catalog is sort of everything that's wrong with the industry. Sort of.
Oh, I gotta tell you that we got the email from PRH that their catalogs are up for January.
I looked at the Marvel one, yeah.
So I looked at the Marvel one, and there are so many new series that I don't understand.
We had complained before about like the Murder World series of one-shots, and like overlapping with that now is the Tim Seeley written Unforgiven series of one-shots.
Yeah.
Why? How is this helping your bottom line? They can't sell that much. They must barely break even.
There's just so many new miniseries. I don't get it.
And I know that DC likes doing these $10 like Christmas specials, Valentine specials, whatever. But there's some months where it's like DC's Legion of Bloom. That's the March one.
I had to look at that so hard. I'm like, is this like a Mr. Bloom thing for Batman? No, it's their spring.
Yeah.
What is the release date for that?
How do you announce winter is coming to an end? You spring it on them. I'm glad someone in the editorial department came up with that. March 21st for other stores.
Because that's the first day of spring.
As is traditional now for these DC anthologies, the writers on them are just people in their development program for the most part.
Yeah.
No one you'd go out of your way to spend $10 to get a story from. And so, as usual, we'll probably sell like 4 or 5 to subscribers and probably another 4 or 5 off the shelf, and that's it.
There's too many of them. I think there's one every month now. Not counting things like, I can't remember from last month.
I can't tell if this, and I guess this is an episode where we'll just be talking about the DC catalog because it's in my hands. I don't know if this Batman One Bad Day box set thing they're doing is cool or not. It's basically each of the One Bad Day one-shots as hardcovers for $18.
With a bunch of bonus material behind the scenes, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I mean, it's 88 pages, so it doesn't come with that much behind-the-scenes material.
Yeah. Weren't they 64 pages to begin with?
Maybe. I don't know how many pages they were originally, because I don't think we have those in the catalog anymore. Maybe. But regardless, the thing they're doing with it, I mean, the individual hardcovers, they've already rescheduled it, because what they've decided to do is do a box set as well.
Like a slipcase, you mean?
Yeah, for basically, so Batman One Bad Day, the Riddler hardcover, $18. Batman One Bad Day box set, $45. And it comes with Batman One Bad Day, the Riddler hardcover, and a new printing of The Killing Joke in the same format.
Ugh.
So then you'll put all in like a box spacer. So as the other ones come out month to month, you'll put all the other ones in there, and they'll all look very cool because they all have the same trade dress.
Sure, but are they all going to have a reprint of whatever material they're pulling from?
What do you mean?
Oh, no, just because... Okay, no, I get it.
Yeah, like Killing Joke is just Killing Joke, and then One Bad Day the Riddler is the One Bad Day the Riddler with whatever minimal bonus material they put in there to bring it up to an 88-page book. But I mean, I don't... Obviously, we haven't read half of these. They haven't come out yet. But I don't know if there's a market for this. Like, maybe we'll have 1 or 2 people who are like, I will get all of those. And I mean, there's nothing stopping you from putting all your softcovers in there and just putting a little spacer in there. Like, that's the same format, right?
Yeah, but then you can't buy the slipcase separately.
No,
you
they
still
won't
have to buy the hardcover.
Yeah, you'll still get a copy of the Killing
there's
Joke
nothing on the
and
spine.
a One Bad Day Riddler. Yeah.
I don't foresee us stocking that for the shelf purely
No.
for size reasons.
And on top of that, like, when you do, like, we did, I don't know if it was optional or not, I don't think it was, when they did the Doomsday Clock, first or second volume, whichever one comes with the slipcase first, I guess.
The second one came with
Second?
Didn't it?
I have no idea, I don't remember, it's been too long. But regardless, there's only one other book you got to put in there. No big deal. It's not a huge commitment. And it's the other half of the story. This is like how many one shots? 8 different one shots by different creative teams. Maybe you want all 8 of them in hardcover. Maybe you just want a couple writers and artists that you really like, or characters that you're super fond of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so weird though, because I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat. Not for me or anyone I know, and I don't think we'll sell well with it, but I guess I kind of like that someone in the production department was like, we should do a big slipcase. I think that's neat. It's rare that I look at their collections department and go, oh, this was a good idea. Like the fact that they're releasing the Shazam Power of Hope reprint hardcover, the Alex Ross Paldini one, and the Shazam Monster Society of Evil new hardcover in September and May, respectively, which is ridiculous. Like 3 to 6 months after the movie comes out. Maybe this is to tie in with the digital release. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, man. Is the Power of Hope a hardcover, you said?
Yeah.
And is it still oversized?
Yeah.
Huh.
Speaking of oversized, in the Marvel catalog, they're doing a library edition of Tradd Moore's Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise.
I think we expected that all along.
I always hope for it, but I never expect it.
Yeah. Sorry, we pressed record, so somebody had you on eventually. It was me!
It took a while.
It did. My adrenaline is finally coming down.
Nice.
Also, I noticed how much, I don't know, dust or salt or whatever is all over my pants.
Yeah.
Harrowing day.
Did you want to talk about your cold weather fiasco?
Well, I mean, there's a problem at the store.
Okay.
It's so cold that the front door mechanism doesn't work right.
Sure. Metal's all warped.
And no, the lock inside.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess the same thing, right? The metal changes shape because of the cold?
I think whatever lubricates it is too frozen.
Okay.
So the problem is after I locked the long shot's falling down.
Yeah.
After I locked the door tonight, I'm like, it's not closing right. Let me unlock it and readjust, like scrape out some of the snow at the bottom. I couldn't unlock it.
Oh no.
I couldn't get it unlocked.
Jeez.
And when you
turning the deadbolt or the other lock?
The push lever, the mechanism that goes in and out.
Okay.
I eventually got it open, and then I just WD-40'd the crap out of it.
Okay.
But that's a bad sign for any. Like, look, is it beyond cold today in Chicago? Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It's
like Arctic winds. Yes.
Yeah. But things that you buy should take that into account.
Well,
I have yet to have a car whose windshield wiper fluid nozzles don't freeze up in the winter.
Yeah.
And when you have wet highways and people kicking up gunk on your windshield covers up.
Sure.
And you try to, like, you hit the button to get the wiper fluid to come out, and that automatically makes the wipers move, which then smears that gunk all across your windshield.
Yeah.
And then there's no liquid to remove it. And I carry a spray bottle in my car of an alcohol and windshield wiper fluid solution. You can't use that while you're driving the car.
No.
And also, just the sheer reaching around of your car to... You can't get the windshield while you're in the car.
No.
And then, on the way home, my back windshield shattered. In the cold. And I never realized how much it wraps around the entire car.
Yeah.
Because it just, like, shattered in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's all this other glass moving around.
Yeah.
And I was giving Gina a ride home, so she was able to help me clean it up. And we went back to the store, and I got a bunch of trash bags and tape. Tape's not going to stick in this cold.
No.
Tape's not going to stick to the outside of your car that's covered in salt.
Yeah.
So I found a tarp, a plastic tarp that's got fabric on the backside, and we had to like fold that in and slam that all around the door. And it's like under the bottom, along the sides,
Sure.
but nothing on the top.
Mm-hmm.
And that with all the plastic, I'm like, well, that'll get me through. And it worked really good until I got off the highway.
Yeah.
And then everything just like...
Slid?
Well, no, it just separated. So then it's like, all right, the air comes right in.
Oh, God.
And I also realized after I got here, I'm like, let me try to readjust it. Oh, that plastic tarp is now cracking because it's frozen.
Wow. Yeah.
And it has to stay on the car in the cold all night and then make it back in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that it'll survive.
Yeah. I mean, it will be not substantially, slightly warmer in the morning.
Yeah. And it is indoors tonight, but still, it's still in freezing temperatures.
You're right. Yeah.
Luckily, I was able to find, and, knock on wood, because this hasn't happened yet, but I have a place that can fix it tomorrow, Christmas Eve. And I realized how lucky I was that this happened tonight and not tomorrow, because if it happened on Christmas Eve, that car is not getting fixed for a while.
Yeah, a couple days, yeah.
Yeah, because not only is it Christmas Day, everyone gets Monday off because of Christmas.
Yeah. I would wonder if, like, repair places would.
I don't know. I mean, we're open.
There's emergencies.
So, yeah, unexpected.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, and I needed my hands to do all that stuff, and I couldn't, like, pull and tear tape with gloves.
No.
So my hands were exposed to the elements, and they are just calming down now.
That's good.
Oh my goodness! What a turn.
Yeah.
We were talking last week about how there were less Christmas sales than I was anticipating for the season.
Right.
And we were hoping, we could make it up this week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and granted, we didn't get anywhere near as much snow as was predicted.
No.
And the snow is done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it still kept people from...
A lot of people changed their plans.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, rightly so. Like, it's nice when things work out less harmful than you think they're going to, but you can't plan on that. Like, you can't be like, maybe I'll get lucky. Like, that's not a good strategy for a winter storm.
According to my watch, it's -4 outside. That is not...
Yeah.
That's not what it feels like. That's what it...
No,
I'm sure it's way worse.
It feels like... I think what I was saying before is like 28 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, which is insane.
At least tomorrow I just have to get there.
Right.
Like, I don't have to worry about multiple places. And if it, like, tears off while I'm driving, fine. Just make it. Just get all the way. The only thing I'm worried about is if... and I don't think the tarp can come out from the way it's in the door. It could just slide down.
Right.
And expose the back.
It can't, like, fly out and hit someone's car.
Exactly.
Right.
It can't, like, obscure somebody else's
No.
windshield as they're driving.
No.
It just means I'll be colder.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Jesus.
I'm sorry, man.
Fun times.
Yeah.
Gina was great. Gina was able to clean a lot of it up while I was on the phone trying to find
Sure.
a place. And I was so worried about it being Christmas Eve.
Yeah, of course. It's a big ask, but luckily it's the morning of Christmas Eve, so places are still going to be open and able to help you and all that.
Yeah. And I wanted to, like, I assume that
If you had needed it tomorrow night at 5:30,
right.
everyone's closed. No
I
one's going to be
assume this isn't a case of a lot of normally scheduled maintenance on Christmas Eve, like they're open for emergencies or what have you.
Yeah, people who something blows up because of the cold, basically.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in this scenario, it was the window was heated for most of the day, and then it went out to the cold, and I guess that differential probably caused the window to crack.
I did hear it laugh first, too.
They'll do that.
Yeah. And even after it was all cleaned, I'm like, as I'm taping things up, more shards are falling.
Sure.
And luckily, I bought that.
Hopefully, when they're
WeatherTech
installing the
liner.
new one, they can vacuum
Yeah, I
there.
assume they will. I
would hope.
Yeah. I'm not worried about any of that. And we got a lot more of it has been falling while I've been slamming the door trying to get the... Fine. I assume they'll take care of all of that.
Sure.
And even if they don't, fine. It's just I had a bunch of presents in the back where the glass went, and...
Extra presents now.
Yeah.
Glass.
Yeah. Oof. I had planned to try to get Happy Holiday testimonials from most of the challengers.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get around to it. It didn't happen. And
Maybe next year.
The only one that we had was Haley's at the start of this episode.
Okay.
Reminding people that she is someone who, in fact, is part of this podcast.
True.
And will be back sometime in the new year.
She can have my job whenever she wants it.
She doesn't want it.
I know. It's pretty thankless.
That's true. That is true. Although, we have been thanked numerous times by Holly Aitchison, the person who coined the Comic Uncles
That's right.
tagline, which we're leading into.
Yes.
And who also placed a nice order today online.
It was very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so happy holidays, Holly. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
And I hope you're feeling better. Oh, my goodness. So one of the things that was happening this week, which we were going to talk about, which was a big deal, literally a big deal, was the size of this upcoming week.
Yes.
Traditionally, the weeks between Christmas and New Year's are small.
Yeah, there have been initiatives at sometimes where it's like just small press stuff because nobody had anything. Like there were literally times when Marvel and DC would just not release anything the last Wednesday of the year.
Yeah, a whole skip
depending
week.
on how the holidays played out.
Or, DC would do like an event like New Year's Evil or
Sure.
some sort of fifth week
7
thing.
or 8 random books. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get the invoices from Marvel and DC, or officially from Lunar and from PRH, for next week's books, and it is massive.
Yeah, really.
Like, staggering.
Yeah, like DC alone was like multiple weeks put together.
Yeah. It just huge lists.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing that you don't expect in retail because business is slower that week. People are on vacation. People don't come in. Whatever the reason.
Right.
It's a slow sales week. And you wanted to have all this product. Like, all the hardcovers that DC released this week, we would have loved to have had earlier in the month.
Even 2 weeks earlier would have been like, oh, I can sell these to people who were looking for like a good Christmas gift because it's brand new. It's, Tom King or it's whatever, like Cliff Chang. But instead it's like, cool, you dropped them 3 days before Christmas. Like, okay, there's a few people I can sell them to, but most people already shopped. They're already done.
Yeah. Just terrible timing.
Yeah, not great.
So we were going to go over the list and mention how ridiculous it is and how large it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still large. However, once we got the DC product from Lunar, that's when we found out that it is, in fact, 2 weeks worth of books.
Yeah, like Diamond is still shipping weekly, and PRH is shipping weekly. They've actually changed the essentially the delivery date to stores to the Thursday before releases instead of the Monday before releases to take into account Monday holidays and the holidays in general. Lunar, however, decided to just do 2 weeks worth of shipping all at once.
Fine.
And charge you for it.
I just wish we knew that. And to be fair, Diamond would have shipped you 2 weeks, but held off of billing you for the second week until the next week.
Right. And what they also would have done is probably packed everything separately. 1 week's worth of stuff in this box, another week's worth of stuff in this box, and put labels on saying, like, December 28th books or whatever.
Do we know Lunar didn't do that because we didn't unpack them?
I mean, all I was told was that Lunar did notate it on the packing slip. I don't know if they did it on the box. I doubt they did.
Well, they didn't note it on the
split up
box,
in a
but I
weird
don't know
way.
if they were split in different boxes or what have you.
I don't know.
Lunar always denotes their product by date. Like, there's restock stuff that was in this.
Yeah.
And it has, 12/13 date or whatever.
What's always dumb, thanks to DC, is that DC books technically have an on-sale date of Tuesday, while everything else Lunar distributes has an on-sale date of Wednesday. So even if you're getting, everything is just for this week, if it's Oni or whatever, it's in a different section of the packing slip alphabetically than all the DC stuff, because the DC stuff is a release date of that Tuesday, the only books is that Wednesday or whatever, which is so dumb when you're checking in.
Oh, for real.
I would love to know what stores out there are actually adhering to DC's stupid unification of communications across all channels and putting their DC books out a day before everything else, and how their customers respond to that. Like, we've not ever done it because it seems like a huge pain in the ass for everyone who shops at the store. If you're buying off the shelf and you have to come in Tuesday for the new DC books and then come back Wednesday for everything else, or risk potentially issues, covers, variants selling out before you come in on a Wednesday. So we're like, everything just goes on sale at Wednesday. That's when the bulk of the material comes out, and we don't want to do the DC stuff separately. But some stores must.
And for us, one of the issues is stocking the shelves because we have a new release section. So you just have to put all the DC stuff together in a field of empty shelves or of other empty shelves, or put it where you think they're going to go alphabetically compared to everything else, and just have like, oh, Batman's over here, but then Green Lantern's over here.
I feel like most stores are probably like us, where they're just like, no, we're putting it on the shelves on Wednesday. But, I mean, there's probably places where it's like, I will lose sales to a competitor if I don't put them on the shelves on Tuesday.
But I just mean, how if we were doing it Tuesday, how would we rack it?
I mean, we never would. That's the thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's probably the way where we would do all the layout and then just put the DC stuff out in a field of empty spaces, and then put the rest of the stuff on the shelves after we close on Tuesday. That's how we've done it for things like midnight sales and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, this stuff goes out now, and it's all spaced out, and then we'll put the other stuff out later, instead of making a separate section and rearranging everything just for that.
It goes back to the Heroes World days of getting stuff on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Sure. But at least then, like, I wasn't running a store then, but
I was.
The release date was still like Wednesday, though, right?
No, because we were putting the Monday stuff out, but we weren't flagging it as new until Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So
did you have people coming in twice a week?
Yes, we did have Jimmy Hayes coming in twice a week.
Yeah, it's a moot point for a lot of DC stuff because a lot of our DC books are very close to being subscriber only, or at least majority subscribed to, rather than shelf copies. And if people come in on Tuesday for their subscription stuff, we'll sell them the DC stuff because it is street dated for Tuesday, so they can buy it.
And it's just easier for us to do it.
But it doesn't seem like we've ever had a lot of people who care about this, coming in Tuesdays, despite DC's unified communications across so many channels.
All the channels. Every channel.
It doesn't seem like most people have any awareness of when DC books come out, to the degree that they're coming in Tuesdays, and we're frequently having to tell them, no, I'm sorry, we put that on the shelves tomorrow. Once in a while, like I think for Batman Spawn, we had like one person come in Tuesday expecting to be able to buy it and being told, no, I'm sorry, tomorrow. And then occasionally, if there's like a variant cover or some crazy thing, we might get a phone call late on a Tuesday from someone who's heard it's out, but they don't really know anything about the book or whatever. Frequently, they don't even know the title of the book they're looking for, but they know that it has Paul McCartney on the cover or something. I don't know. $50 book. Did you hear that?
I did. I heard it from you.
Insane.
They should call it the
open order variant.
Wonderful Christmas time variant.
Open order variant of a DC Christmas card by Dan Mora. And it's $50 right now.
That was a Dan Mora piece?
Yeah.
I don't know that Dan Mora ever did a DC Christmas card.
I guess he must have. I mean, maybe it's brand new.
Or maybe it's for something specific. Because, like, why would it have Paul McCartney on it?
I have no idea.
No, tell me why.
Tell
me why.
That's not Paul McCartney. That's a different.
I know. And also, he was not in that voice, so we don't get sued.
Like I was telling you, I really hope that it translates into high sales for that Third Man variant with the dude from Jack White from the White Stripes.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
Big crossover audience between DC Comics, Jack White, and Paul McCartney.
It's established now that maybe it was brand new, because maybe they're just doing a bunch of musician variants. Because World's Finest is the place where that Jack White cover is landing for some reason. So yeah, they did.
Maybe they saw how the Marvel
Seinfeld.
Eminem Spider-Man book did.
No, I mean, they did Jerry Seinfeld to start with, so maybe that's just a thing now for World's Finest, where it's like, I don't know, Batman, Superman, and then someone who somewhere in an interview once said they liked Batman or Superman. So maybe, even though it looks like a holiday card because that was the theme for the variants, maybe it wasn't a holiday card. Maybe it was a brand new piece.
Maybe it'll be a lot of NBA players and that one trios wrestler from Dark this week who had a Superman tattoo on his pec.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You watched it. I saw you watch it.
I don't remember people's tattoos.
That's fine. Why would you? They're stupid. Except my really cool Daniel Warren Johnson Dr. Doom tattoo I got this year.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. And no one will ever see it.
Well, you could maybe show it off, but probably not until warmer weather.
It was also on Caitlin's, my tattoo artist, Caitlin's Instagram.
Do you know what her handle is so people can check it out?
Caitlin McKay?
Okay.
Caitlin Drake McKay? CD McKay? One of those.
So the answer is no, you do not know.
No, I do not know.
Okay.
I think she changed it over the years.
Yeah.
Like
It's
we had done
publicly
before.
facing, right? It's not like a private.
Yeah. But you got to dig for it because,
It was a while ago.
well, it was like the fourth photo in a spread, and it started with my hands having been healed because she was able to take photos of them healed because she hasn't had photos in a couple years of those.
Okay.
So she started with them and then ended on.
So even if someone's scrolling, the first photo is not even your Dr. Doom. Like, they'd have to find your hand tattoos and then scroll
Yes,
through.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I don't know if I'm crashing or what's happening, but I'm like shivering now, and I can't stop yawning.
Well, you're just bored.
No, that's not it. I think it was just the...
You were outside for a while, Patrick. It's very bad for you.
Yeah, it is very
It's
cold. That's
very
why.
bad for you.
I think the car will be fine in the morning.
I think it will be too.
It's just
certainly being in the garage overnight's an asset.
I have to leave extra early now to get time to get to
Sorry.
the glass place, and at least there hopefully won't be that much traffic tomorrow.
Yeah, you'd have to think, right?
Who knows?
The morning
Who
of
can
Christmas
tell?
Eve, I feel like probably not.
I'm sorry, Dal. I'm kind of out of it and not
I understand. I'm sorry to hear that.
not fully here. And I've of course read. There's no previews this time of year.
No,
For
there
us to be
hasn't
reading
been for a
anything.
while. We talked about that before. It's a gigantic bummer that all these things that I could be excited about and promoting, instead it's like, I don't know. I mean, there's not even Final Order Cutoffs from Lunar or PRH for the next 2 weeks because it's Christmas Day and New Year's Day.
Yeah, which is great because at least you don't have to worry about doing them when you're not working.
I mean, it sucked last week because I had to do multiple weeks worth for PRH. It took forever.
yeah.
And it's so dumb that Diamond, because they answer to so many different publishers, couldn't apparently dictate, like, please don't do FOCs. It's a holiday and no one wants to deal with it. So, like, I think Christmas week, I don't think there's really anything there. No, that's not true even. There's like one or two people that do have Final Order Cutoffs. And I don't know if it's ones that we would carry for the shelf, but it might be ones we have to order for special order, so we still got to do them.
Yeah.
And then New Year's week, it's like a few more. But it's still like most of the major publishers are like, no, that's okay. But then the week after that, right back at it.
Is there, and I don't think there is, some time in the future you can look ahead to where the FOC process will be different and easier?
How do you mean?
Well, as you said, I mean, the way you do it now, it takes forever.
Takes forever, yeah.
Yeah. Is something in the works to make that easier?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, Managed Comics is still working on a way to surface a lot of the sales data in a more useful way.
Yeah.
Instead of the Shopify way, which is utter garbage.
But it'll still be rushing to get everything done Sunday, Monday.
I don't know if it is. Like, some of it is just the amount of material. We talked about it, I think, just as recently as last week. Ordering variant covers and having to do all that stuff is just extra line items that you have to do every FOC. So
Yeah.
even if it's a week where not a lot of books are coming out, well, if it's 4 covers for every book, it's technically 4 times as much crap you've got to order. Each of those lines, it's like, okay, but how many of these variants? Are there any ones I want to carry for the shelf? If so, how many? Is it adding up to an incentive cover? Do I need to get that too? Blah, blah, blah. Like, there's elements that can be expedited for sure based on how useful and available the data is. But the actual FOC process, no, because we have to do it across multiple distributors almost every single week, and there's a ton of stuff. Like, one of the things that will make FOC take longer than it might have like a couple, 3 years ago is that we now do Final Order Cutoffs for a lot of manga and kids publishers through PRH that previously we would just do on initial order and never look at again.
Yeah.
Now we can/have to do those publishers on FOC as well. So it's not just comics and superhero graphic novels and stuff. It's all this other stuff that it's nice to have the option to, but it's still, more work every week. The good news is we have 2 people doing it now. So being able to split that up.
Sometimes another person jumps in.
Sometimes even.
But that's still just 2 people.
It's just replacing somebody else,
Yeah.
So that does help a lot. Being able to not have to have one person do all of the FOCs now that it's 3 different vendors who all have their own separate ways of communicating FOC stuff to a retailer.
Yeah, but across how many channels?
For DC, it's all channels. Unfortunately, PRH and Diamond haven't unified their communications yet, so I don't know.
Well, hopefully, will that be part of the managed comics? Like, you'll be able to just do all the FOCs through them?
Well, that's the thing. Like, some of it is, I think, I don't know if it's a problem that, like, managed comics can solve. One of the things that's very cool about Lunar and Diamond as far as how they do FOCs is that you essentially download what you have on order and all the titles that are on FOC, and you can then upload that to Managed Comics, plug in the numbers you want to change, and then download it out of Managed Comics and upload it to Diamond, and Diamond will replace all the numbers that you have with the new numbers that you've uploaded.
Yeah.
What drives me insane is that PRH doesn't have that. You, cannot download all of your the stuff that's currently in a FOC cart, which is bad enough, but you can't upload changes. You can only upload new quantities you want to add. You can't upload like -3 copies to bring it down. You can only take what you've got and add to it, or go into the cart and individually reduce different quantities. So doing the PRH FOCs is a pain in the ass because of how bad Shopify is at making useful data available to you as someone who's using their platform. But beyond that, it's that you have to be on the PRH page to make changes. Additions and subtractions, you have to be on their page. So I'm constantly having to tab back and forth between Shopify sales data and Managed Comics subscription data and then the PRH FOC page to get everything working right, which sucks so bad. It's a thing that I don't want to take home with me because it's something that takes a while. I'd rather do it while I'm at work and looking for something to do. But frequently it's like I can't do anything else when I'm working on it. So if anyone asks me a question, if Molly Jane wants to give me a comment on something, if I need to handle something for a customer, it's like I have to almost retrain my brain to shift gears from trying to do FOCs to communicate with another human being and then back again. It sucks so bad.
Ugh.
And the only thing for it, Managed Comics can make as many changes as they want to eliminate some of that so that sales data and subscription data is all on one page. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, I'm still going to have to go to the PRH page and then say add 4 copies, or on a separate goddamn tab, go to the cart and say, okay, -2 copies. Just because PRH does not have the option of overwriting what you currently have in your cart. I hate it so much. And it's been like a year. So it doesn't seem like they have any intention of changing it to a more like logical process.
Do you think it's at all worth vocalizing that, like writing that all out, what you just said, and then we can send it in to the people we know?
I have to find time. And
yeah.
I mean, sure.
And you don't have the time because you're doing all these extra steps.
There's so many goddamn FOC steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I could probably do that.
Finding the time is our goal in 2023.
Yeah, we complain about a lot of stuff on this podcast, and there's definitely things that we could...
Since when?
I know.
It's
It's usually Haley.
I'm going to complain about you complaining about us complaining.
That's fair. I had that coming. There's a lot of things that we complain about on this podcast, and some of them are things that we could try.
I don't think Haley knows how to complain about things in comics.
Well, she'll learn.
Yeah, cool. She's not retail. That's why.
Yeah.
She's in marketing.
Stay
It's
in
all
comics
different.
long enough, you'll figure out how to complain. There's a lot of things we complain about on this podcast, and some of them are things that we definitely could try and communicate to business partners, publishers, or distributors, or what have you. But the thing is, sometimes it gets incredibly frustrating to have to stop what you're doing to write that stuff up in a way to submit it as a complaint, a bug report, whatever, where you're just like, God damn it, let me just sell some comics.
I just want to get past this and then keep doing what I was doing.
It's bad enough that I'm being inconvenienced by this process. Please don't also make me responsible for pulling, essentially, PRH aside and saying, here's what's going on with your platform. Like, now it's twice as much work as it was a minute ago.
The printer today kept thinking that there was plastic tabs over one or both of the ink cartridges.
Great.
And it kept saying, hey, make sure you've pulled off the little tape from the thing. I'm like, what? I've been printing stuff. Like, what? Why all of a sudden?
Right.
So I would take it out, put it back in, take it off, wipe it down, put it back in. Like, is there something in there? What is happening? And that's, I just needed to print things so I could work.
Yeah.
And then, oh, no, I can't stop that. Ring somebody else up, answer the phone, answer a question, recommend a book, come back, still doing the printer thing. And then I noticed that at the end of the day, when I was printing, it was printing black as gray.
Oh, because it thinks the black cartridge isn't there. You only have a color cartridge.
But
I know.
It's fine.
It's so dumb.
Oh, man.
My least favorite thing with the printer, my biggest pet peeve with who is it, Epson? I can't remember. HP. You have to log in to use functions like the scanner. Like, we had to create an HP account, and frequently it'll just log us out, and you'll have to log back in, and I had to write down the password, because it's like, why would I remember my HP printer password? I don't use online services at all, but it's like, nope, you got to have an account, which is, oh my God, it should be a war crime. Like,
and when,
why would you make people do that? Why would you force people who are trying to just use a printer that doesn't even need to be connected to the internet at all have an account with you that you have to log into? And sometimes change the password on, because it's like, got to make it secure. I didn't want this in the first place.
Let me guess. When you set up the account and had your information, then did it try to sell you on a subscription to ink cartridges?
As soon as you try and set up the printer, they're trying to sell you on subscriptions to ink cartridges. They don't want to sell you a printer. They want to get you into a subscription program for their ink cartridges. So much so that there was a thing, I think it was with HP printers. There's basically a bug in some HP printers where it was not recognizing official HP cartridges, but the system is built to only take official HP cartridges. You put something else in there, it will not print, even though there's nothing mechanically wrong with it. It just, it senses it's not official, so it's like, no, you can't use the printer. But because of the bug, it wasn't actually seeing official ones as official, so HP had to teach people how to essentially jailbreak their printers to be able to take actual ink cartridges, but then unofficial ink cartridges as well, which was hilarious in a really dystopian technological way.
My dad is somebody who always wanted to have one of those ink refill kits, and I'll just refill these cartridges over and over because it's so much cheaper, but it was always such a hassle and a problem and never worth it.
And messy. Yeah.
But currently, I've noticed that our source for these said cartridges, now when you go and plug in your HP 64, it all just sources the knockoffs and the third-party ones. I'm like, no, we want the HP. You got to dig on that site to find the official HP ones. I'm like, I don't want... who is XP? No, just some company.
Okay.
The packaging is very similar, but it's not official.
Sure. It's always very similar. That's how they get you.
Yeah. It's like, come on. I want to... And the reason we don't do the ink subscriptions is because we haven't really cracked how many we need per month.
Right. Yeah, I would never want to do subscriptions like that because it fluctuates so much. Sometimes you need a bunch.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're printing a ton. Sometimes you don't for weeks.
Man.
It's all a scam, Patrick.
I feel like it. And we're just trying to get comics in people's hands.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully more of that in 2023 and less of the other activities.
Yeah, I mean, that's our focus. And
I like doing it.
We have a meeting coming up with ourselves and one or two others about the directions for 2023.
Yep.
And I don't know, we haven't had it, so we can't really talk about it. And I don't want to give like itinerary or anything because we haven't had it yet.
Right.
But it's a big year for Challengers. It's our 15th anniversary.
Yeah.
And I was going over. I usually have a logo design for the 15 for the annual celebration.
Okay.
You know, a logo for each anniversary.
Cool.
Anniversary logos in my mind, and I went to go look at it today because I'm like, oh, it's 3 months away. I'm usually done by now.
Right.
And I opened the Photoshop file for it, and Ginny just goes, ugh.
Oh, no.
Like, yeah, I know, it's terrible.
Oh, no.
She's like, it makes me think of Fast and the Furious, and you don't want that. Like, oh, I don't.
And she loves Fast and the Furious and still said, ugh.
Yeah.
That's bad.
And I'm like, yeah, I honestly, looking at this, I don't know what I was getting at. I think I want a lot of motion lines and things.
Was it a logo of Dwayne The Rock Johnson calling Vin Diesel a candy ass?
It was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good.
So I worked on it and made some changes, and since it's a bigger anniversary, I took the 10th anniversary logo and made some changes.
Okay.
I'm like, it fits.
That's valid.
And I asked Regina's input on every facet, so it's not just me doing stuff. But we're looking ahead to next Friday to being when we undecorate the store.
Okay.
And
I'm also looking forward to that.
I know you are.
I'm a Grinch.
I know if it were up to you, they'd be gone already.
No. I'll
I'll
let you have it through Christmas.
Look, the last couple of years,
It's been very minor.
we've leaned off of the decorations for you.
Oh, I never do it for me. It's not a big deal. I don't care.
But also, with the tree and sidekicks now, because that's the only room for it,
Right.
we don't nearly decorate it as fully as we used to.
Sure.
And one of the things that Santa always talks about on videos is how much he loves our tree.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, Santa, you haven't seen our tree. But we did have Santa in this week.
He did come in, yes.
And we thought he was going to hang out for a little bit, but he stayed for like 3/4 of the day.
Yeah.
It's just that I wish people felt more comfortable walking up to him and interacting, because he was there to take photos and do videos.
Well,
and
so the problem is when you go visit Santa at like a mall or something, Santa's sitting in his Santa throne,
yeah,
surrounded by his acolytes. And so you know that this is a place where, I should go up to Santa, or I should bring my child to go meet Santa. We didn't do that. Santa's just around. So it's like,
yeah,
people don't know if Santa is like, is this a guy dressed as Santa just buying comic books? Like,
fair.
if I go up to him, is it like going up to someone in like a novelty t-shirt and saying like, hey, I like your novelty t-shirt? Or is it like, oh, this is a fixture of the store, I should take advantage of it?
We've never really had actually, I think we did a Santa thing once. I think, maybe. What I've always wanted to do is Spider Santa.
Sure.
This year, I can't remember who, but a store did a Doom Santa, and it was A+ top notch. It made me so jealous.
Sure.
Because it was Doom, but all of his robes were like red with white trim.
Right. I can see it in my head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And just with the Doom mask and the gauntlets.
Oh, yeah.
It was so
That's
well
great.
done. Also, I do, and I can't. I'm like, I give them the shot. I don't know who they are.
The thing I always think about when stuff like that comes about, and how successful it is for a lot of stores, is like, I don't know how we would do that. Like, how does that work? So let's say we get somebody who's dressed up like Dr. Doom, but he's Santa.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's a photo op. So like, where do we put him? Where do we put who's ever in that suit?
Well, we need
And
the
then-
Latvian throne for one.
Obviously. But like, where's the backdrop? Where is someone's going to need to take photos? And then
Right.
what is it, like a set amount of time you come in and get your photo taken? Or is
Yeah.
it just like the logistics of it are a thing where I'm like both daunted by what's required, but also skeptical that anyone would care. Like, it's cool to see on Instagram, but it's like, would I go to a store to see Santa Doom? Like, I don't
You would
know.
for the Santa Doom. He's good. That's always a case when we have somebody of a photogenic celebrity nature in, is that everybody wants a picture, but then we need a person to take those photos, and then we wind up having to pay a person to stand there and take other people's photos all day that they're doing for free.
Right.
That they're getting the photos for free. Fine, but you're right.
I have a great way of talking us out of doing anything fun.
I also really want to give props to, I don't remember what we talk about week to week, but I wanted to shout out All Star Comics for a video that they did.
We haven't talked about that.
Okay. That A+ top notch, loved it. They do, like we do our recommended new release videos at the end of the day on Tuesdays. They do a variant video. Kaz, who works with them, usually hosts it and guides it, talking about the new variant covers they have out. Mm-hmm. One of the fun things that I like that she does is changes the pronunciation of a lot of the books.
Okay.
And then there'll be like...
Are you sure that's not just Australian?
Maybe. They'll be like, hey, what does Mitchell like this week? What does Troy like this week? Other people there. But they did one, and you saw it, right? Then I showed it to you.
You did.
It was so great to where... And I'm explaining it badly, and people should look it up on their socials. It's ASC Melbourne for Instagram. But, like, she turned to talk to Mitch, and Mitch was playing, like, Santa with one of the adult employees on his lap. And Kaz was like, what? And then it cuts to, like, a... Not found footage, but, like, a hidden camera. But just, like, basically, somebody's filming when they shouldn't, and... she and Mitchell were off in the background as she was yelling at him for doing it. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, but the camera's like peeking through a doorway.
Sure.
Like
a candid camera.
Yeah, it was so funny. And I immediately thought, how can I steal this? How can I do this?
That usually is how your brain works.
Right?
For funny videos.
But I'm like, no,
What's the
can't.
Challengers version of this?
I can't take that because it's theirs.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
That's
loved
great.
it so much.
I hope they appreciate that.
And I also didn't trust the three of us on Tuesdays to be able to pull that off with the same really effect, the good effect that theirs had. Yeah, just loved it. Thought it was great. I like changing things up a little bit, like taking a thing we've done and just changing, I don't know, a backdrop, a color of a backdrop.
Changing a 0 to a 5?
Changing a 0 to a 5.
Your 10-year anniversary thing.
Oh, I gotcha. No, 10 was spelled out.
Okay.
Thank you for remembering. Yeah, I tried so hard to fit a 1 and a 5. It's like, okay, some years it's easy to put a number in. Like, we could put a 9 for the G one year, right?
Right.
11 is the 2 L's. Things like that. Well, this year I was trying so hard to put a 1 and a 5 over the R and the S at the end of Challengers.
Oh, wow, okay.
It just didn't work, and
No.
it just looked bad.
Yeah.
Don't say no, you weren't there.
I mean, I'm thinking about how letters and numbers look,
Yeah.
and I can kind of do the math.
And then I did, I tried to do it in the word 15.
Uh-huh.
But so it was F1 5 teen,
Okay.
and it just looked like fistine. I'm like, how does this read? Gina's like,
My
nope,
least favorite
nope.
sidekick. Glad they got kicked off the Titans.
Fistine, that's good. If it was closer to the anniversary, we'd use that for the title. I already did this thing as we're talking. I like to, when one of us says something, I'm like, oh, that could be the open for the episode,
Sure.
but we already have it. It's Haley. And I spent a long time last night trying to find a different snippet of the Adam Warrock, Michael Cahill song that is our theme,
Right.
which is a song they did for us, but we turned it into the theme
Yes.
after using a clip from the Divorce Gun song Oyster Patch for the first... It's so funny to go back and look at or listen to earlier podcasts when there's no intro.
Uh-huh.
And then we got, oh, I'm just going to take this instrumental and put that in.
Sure.
Also looking back at podcasts, when Stella was on a few weeks ago going through her pile of books,
Yeah.
I was talking to her about how, she was a guest on an episode 104, and she's like, how do you remember which episode number?
Yeah.
I'm like, I remember the important ones, but
So there were important ones.
the ones you're not on.
Yeah, there you go.
So I went back and was listening to some of that,
I was saying.
and she's like, I've only been reading comics for a short period of time. I don't know what I could bring to this podcast. And now she does so many podcasts of her own.
Yes.
But that episode,
2022, everybody has at least one podcast.
yeah, we have one. She has 4.
That's why I said at least one.
Right. So that was her being new to comics-ish.
Mm-hmm.
That episode was 10 years ago.
Golly.
October. And so it's 10 years and 2 months ago.
Oh my God.
It's like, man,
No thanks.
right?
No thanks to the passage of time.
Isn't it weird?
It's horrifying.
I mean, it's great to think that Stella has been part of our lives for 10 years.
True.
And
One of the few positives.
So many other
To the passage of
challengers
time.
longer than that.
Yes. Oh my god!
But
yeah.
it's just like, oh my god, it was 10 years.
Yeah.
Like 10. And here we are talking about our 15th anniversary. Like, oh, it's 15 years, but that didn't resonate as much as like, oh my god, that podcast was 10 years ago.
Sure. Yeah,
So
it's bizarre to think about.
What I think a lot of people are thinking of right now is, oh, you've been doing this podcast way too long.
Way too long.
You're
oh
not
my
wrong.
God. The glory days are so far in the rear view.
Over 13 years of this podcast.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And at least 13 good episodes.
Yeah, I think so. You know what? There are episodes we sit down with nothing to talk about and mine gold. There are episodes we sit down and have a laundry list of things to go through, and they're mediocre.
Yeah.
There was one, I don't know, last week or the week before, it took us a good 20 minutes to get into it, but by the time we did, I'm like, this is good stuff.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes we can weave silk out of a sow's ear.
We had a notebook I used to use. Tiny little notebook. It was the old school notebook I got from a movie premiere way back in the day. That tiny little, and that was what I did my show notes on. And I always thought, like, oh, I'll keep doing it until it's filled up. And there's some things that are not podcast related in it. But I was going to keep using that until we filled it up. But then once we have this new podcastatorium, and people may remember you gave me a couple of notebooks last year that had different sayings on it.
I did, yeah.
So I've shifted over to this notebook, which it's called List of Reasons Why I Hate My Job. Which I thought was very fitting for the podcast, as did you, which is why you got it.
Yep.
And now I realize, rather than keep the notebook in the microphone area of the podcastatorium, bring this to the store.
Yeah.
So when you have an idea, write it down.
Yeah, instead of the usual, like, there was a thing at the store and I wanted to talk about it, and
Right.
I don't remember what it was, and
Sure.
it's like, oh no.
So after doing it for a week, all I had for today was, huge week, ! Aftershock.
Yes.
Which we didn't talk about at all.
No,
because we don't have anything to talk about. All it was a news thing. It's
Yeah,
like, that's not what we're talking
Aftershock
about.
is declaring bankruptcy, and there's a lot of explorations of what has been going on with Aftershock's financials for the last however many years. And it's obviously terrible for a lot of people who depend on Aftershock for their livelihood, either employees of the company or freelancers who did work and expected to get paid. But it answers some larger questions, which is, how did Aftershock make any sense as a company? And it's like, oh, they were just licensing stuff, hoping to become TV shows. They were creating comics to then take to different studios or platforms or networks in hopes that they would turn them into a TV show or movie or what have you. And since none of that happened, the optioning happened, no one made anything, and now Aftershock is screwed for money. Like, they hoped that they would turn something into a Walking Dead style hit somewhere along the way, that they were borrowing all this money to create all these comic books that did not nearly have the sales to pay for themselves. But then they didn't, so now all that money is due, and they're in huge trouble.
Well, it was interesting to me to see the list of who they owe money to, and a lot of it's creators, but it's small sums. Then you get into like major media companies, and it's like, oh, well, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't understand how some of that happened, but it's what Aftershock was as a company.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars to media companies.
Yeah, but it at least clarifies what Aftershock was as a company. They always seemed weird because it was like they weren't turning anything into movies and TV shows, but they were, commissioning work from incredibly well-known creators. Like, very few Aftershock things, at least in the early days, were people you've never heard of. Eventually, that would come to be the case for a big selection of the material, but in the early days, it was a lot of like, oh, Garth Ennis is doing a bunch of stuff for them. Like, that's kind of cool. But then, as it would turn out, it was all just the same sort of publishing company that's secretly R&D for a media company that wants to, again, have the next Walking Dead or The Boys or whatever. So it's creating enough material where you can shop it around to enough places where hopefully one of them gets turned into something that then feeds money back into the company to pay off all of the various ones that they created that then didn't get turned into a movie or a TV show.
Yeah.
But again, the gamble is, okay, you only have so much time before one of those needs to hit. None of them did. So it's like, okay, well, now all that money's due. And that's Aftershock.
Before I forget, I just want to tell you specifically that I did start the March 2023 counter display of the upcoming releases.
No, thanks.
There's way too many Marvel books on it.
Okay.
And I don't know. I didn't get through any. It's just I have 2 DC books, a ton of Marvels, and there's a few spaces left. But obviously, you can go and change. Just when you go to finish it, know that one's already there
with the diamond stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to get a jump on that, so because we could. While we do have our.
I assume we'll just get it printed Tuesday night.
Hopefully, because while we do have our Stan Lee sale on Wednesday, we really
December
haven't.
28th. Yes.
Yeah, Stan Lee's 100th birthday. We really haven't promoted a lot or done a lot with it, but we do need to get flyers going for, definitely for Stephanie Phillips signing and the Sidekicks anniversary because those are in the same week.
Sure.
Yeah. A lot of events we're trying to get going for the first quarter, up through.
C2E2 basically.
Yeah, basically. The first quarter.
Yeah. First 3 months of the year. Yeah.
Ugh, it's so weird to look at it like that and basically be writing off the rest of this year.
But that's how every year works. As soon as you hit Christmas, there's that last week, and it's like, no one ever wants to plan anything or do anything because it's you've just celebrated Christmas, and then you just have to get ready for New Year's, which is why maybe you don't release a ton of comic product December 28th because no one's in the mindset for that. A lot of those books are not going to get picked up until like January 6th or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's when people will start paying attention again, probably. And that's assuming they're even in town, which we're already hearing from a lot of folks. Reasonably so, going out of town, like right after Christmas, and probably back sometime in January.
Yeah, I've got a couple of trips already scheduled for the first quarter. One is work-related, one is family-related. None of them are pleasure-related.
I think you could have fun at the work one, probably more than the family one.
Yeah. But, so I wound up yesterday buying the tickets for the family one.
Okay.
Because George said, hey, just so you know, I bought the tickets. Here's the flight we're going out on.
So you can all go together?
So, just me and him, his family.
Oh, okay.
So
I assume everyone else's family is going separately in their own little groups.
Yeah, because everybody has groups of people, I'm attaching myself to George's because it basically evens out.
Sure.
And it's just easier. And then I'm like, hey, what seats did you get? He's like, oh, we got these 3. I'm like, okay, so I'm on the other aisle for each of those.
Nice.
For both of those flights.
Okay.
It's not terribly expensive, but then there still has to be a car rental and hotel and whatnot.
Every vacation, even if it's one that you just feel like is a short jaunt or whatever, is still like, boy, it adds up real fast.
And this is a leave Friday morning, come back Monday morning, so like a solid 3-day trek. But,
sure.
It's weird to know, like, oh, I already need 3 days off in the first quarter. Mm-hmm. That is more than I had off this year.
Which I hope at some point. You're always, nah. But I hope you take an actual, like, for yourself vacation at some point in 2023.
I wouldn't hold your breath, but there may be something very, very early 2024.
Okay.
You know what that is.
I do, but separate from that. Like, just
I'll need everything I make this year to afford that trip.
I know, that's true. It's not cheap. Jesus Christ, it's not cheap. There's ways of doing it where it's not super expensive, but it's the time of year is not helping you do it in a way that's budget friendly.
No. And if the weather's anything like it is now, then, which it could be. Indeed. So with just, we still have a week left of December, and we will still record another podcast in this calendar year. It'll only go up in this calendar year to patrons. It will go up to everybody else at the start of the new year.
Yeah, January 1st.
So this is basically our last official podcast for 2022. Mm-hmm. And looking back at the year, one of the things I need you to show me how to do in Managed Comics is to do bestseller lists and things. In Shopify.
Shopify,
Sorry.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Because I have a lot of media scheduled for January.
Sure. So here's the problem.
Yeah.
Prior to Managed Comics Order Helper Tile, we don't really have any sales data for subscription stuff. So all we have sales data for is like shelf copies, which is not super relevant.
Right. Yeah.
Graphic novels, not a problem. Comic books,
It's mainly graphic novels I'm interested in.
Sure, okay.
But
Graphic novels is a lot easier.
I've got a.
But even that, like anything like the Reckless books that are majority like subscription,
Yeah.
not going to be on there.
That's true. Oh, that's awful.
Yeah. They're going to be way down the list.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
That's why we didn't try to do one of those like last year or whatever, because it was just like the numbers would not.
No, you found a way last year.
Okay, last year I
Yeah.
think was fine, but this year I more or less gave up on it immediately because it was
Wait, when you say this year, you mean
for 2022. Like
Okay. When I say last year, I mean you did a best of a top 100 for 2021.
Yeah, which it was a little easier to dump out
Right.
because we were switching over late in 2021.
Yeah. So
But with 2022, like
you're saying you're not going to be able to do it.
I'm saying I wasn't planning on it because
Okay.
I can give you a list. It is not representative in any way.
I'll take those lists because I've got a questionnaire to answer
Okay.
for Publishers Weekly, and then I've got my annual off-panel recording.
I'll show you how to do it, and you can decide for yourself if it's worth doing.
It's fine. I can make it work, but with some of the numbers. I'm doing a book club with the podcast 22 panels,
Okay.
and it's for Maison Ikoku, and I will be
Classic
on.
Rumiko Takahashi.
Oh, it's my favorite manga, and I will be on the.
It's weird that people don't care about her anymore. Like she had that new one,
Yeah, it didn't, and she's got another one that she's doing designs for and covers.
Mao,
But
and she was doing stuff for Inuyashina, I think. And I mean, some of it is just the audience that is reading manga right now. I mean, like stuff like Ranma 1/2 is like their parents' manga.
yeah,
Like they don't know or care about it. It's so long ago. Even though it's a lot of that stuff, Maison Ikoku's back in a collector's edition, and like, you know, Inuyasha and Ranma 1/2 are probably in print some way. Inuyasha more than Ranma 1/2 maybe. But like Inuyasha was a book that was the last manga boom where that book was like relevant.
yeah.
There's kids reading manga now that were not even born when that thing was coming out. And they're not inclined to go back and discover it. Like we were talking about last week, a lot of the manga stuff, sales are just based on the anime that kids are watching and the stuff that's coming over from Japan. Like, so older shows, older books, they don't care.
And then I'll be on the 100th episode of Comics, Coffee, and Metal with Don Cardenas, and I was on the
Busy schedule.
first episode. Yeah, and these are all in the first like 2 weeks of January.
We need to talk to our media team. They got you in too many places. That's rough, dude.
I wish I had a media team. I really do. I wish we had a marketing team.
Sure, that would be great.
Yeah.
We tried working with
tried.
some marketing people, and it's
Yeah.
just like, you don't get our business. Or like, you get a fraction of our business. Or you get our business, but you don't get us.
Well,
like,
there's things that we were wanting that were outside of the realm of comics promotion that we could just never make clear.
yeah.
I think one of those people has been in contact with me to promote a
I think I saw one of those emails.
prog metal band's graphic novel release, and it's like a super group. It's people from Saxon and a couple other bands.
Okay.
And and I love the label it's on.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Frontiers is the label. I love Frontiers is my merge.
Oh, wow, okay.
The only problem
I
is
don't think merge is even a merge anymore.
the only problem is Frontiers bands all sound the same.
Okay.
Like 2 weeks ago on a Friday, I was going through their Instagram and just hitting all the things like, do I know this? Do I know this?
Sure.
And Gina thought I was playing the same band, which she's not wrong to think that. But so they have a graphic novel interpretation of their album, and the album's okay, but the artist and the co-creator of this graphic novel, just someone who's interpreting all their songs. So they worked with the lyricist of the band, and then they're writing a story around each song that merges together.
Okay.
And they're like, we can do a signing with the author, the artist. He's local. It's not a book I think we can sell,
Yeah.
and I don't want to waste anyone's time.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And by that I mean the creator's time.
Right, that's the thing that took us a long time to learn, was there's a lot of stuff that was offered to us in the early days where we're like, we don't really see it, but I don't know. We'll have them in. Maybe they'll bring some people, maybe whatever. And then it's like, oh, no one showed up. Nobody cared. We feel like assholes.
Yeah.
So it's better now to just go like, hey, we're not the store for this. I'm sorry to say no to you.
Yeah.
To be like, no, we don't want you to come in and sign and promote your book and hopefully drive sales. But from experience, that's not what's going to happen.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody who has listened to this podcast all year, or just one.
Wow, so not me. Okay, great, thanks.
It's definitely not you.
Dang.
And especially everybody who's shopped with us. And a point I was trying to make a little earlier, but I didn't get to, is that 2022 will be up a hair over 2021.
Sure.
Like,
some months good, some months not good.
Basically, you would call it flat.
Yeah. When it's below a certain percentage of gain, it's like the fluctuation is so minimal it doesn't matter.
And that's just solid bottom line to bottom line, not how much did we spend versus how much we made versus all the different calculations involved. But 2021, I was just going to say 21, but 2021 was the kind of year that people will ignore when they're looking at trends because it was so pandemic buying heavy.
Sure.
That you can't attempt to replicate it, and we tied it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Even with all the weirdo headwinds of the second half of 2022, for the market to kind of deflate in a way that was still substantially better than 2019 is like, okay, like that's not ideal, but it's something we can work with.
Yeah, we're going into 2023 with optimism.
Sure.
But knowing that we have to make smarter, tighter decisions.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. I mean, I wish there was a thing that we could say we're going to do where it's like one killer idea that's going to turn everything around, but it's like, we're a 15-year-old business. I don't know if that's going to happen for us. A lot of what we're going to do is just try and incrementally change and adjust. A lot of the things that we're looking at trying to do in 2023 to, give us a boost are things that are probably going to be invisible to a lot of people coming into the store. It's things like re-examining how we're doing our inventory and how deep we're stocking on certain things and what categories we're really going to get behind and how we're going to deal with all of the new number ones and variant covers and all that sort of stuff, where it's just, if we can shave a little bit here and there, hopefully it's a thing that doesn't detract from the store experience in any way, but is still something that is helping us get in a dollars and cents way in the background. There might be other things we'll try. I don't know. Like, I couldn't tell you everything we're going to do in 2023 because I'm sure we haven't even thought of it yet.
Sure.
Hopefully there are things that will come to us later in the year or in the early months of 2023 where we'll be like, oh, yes, and then we'll work to make that happen.
Well, we will have something for 2023 that we've never had before, technically, but I'm saving that for our team meeting.
Okay, great.
Yeah. It's something that I like, but won't really have any impact.
Oh, okay.
But it's a thing I want to see if we can make work.
Okay. I'll try and keep an open mind.
But that's we're still like 2 weeks away from that meeting.
Sure.
So we'll deal with it as it comes.
Yay.
Thank you for being part of this year, and that is to you.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. I hope everybody listening to this keeps reading comics for the rest of 2022 and into 2023.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.